I just finished my third ever marathon, all of them during my medical journey. Today, I want to break down exactly how you can seek ambitious goals like this for your personal progress and still finding time to do them despite being on a busy medical journey. Let's get into it. Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be making an episode of kind of two parts. One is about some of the lessons from the Austin Marathon that I just ran this past weekend and ways that it relates to the medical journey that I've learned during my training, and particularly in the 26.2 miles that I just did. But also during this episode, I'm going to break down the exact formula that I use to seek out personal goals and make the time for these personal goals despite being busy in medicine. If you're new to this channel, I am a busy cardiology fellow in my second year of fellowship. I am happily married to my beautiful wife, and we also have a beautiful, amazing 1.5-year-old daughter who takes up a decent amount of our time. But despite all of the hecticness that comes with my career and just a growing family, I still tried to manage personal goals like this. And so I want to share the formula that I do, and you can figure out and replace running with whatever that may be for you. So let's break it down. So first, I want to start with the lessons that came from training and actual race day. Number one, you need challenges outside of medicine. During your entire medical journey, you're just kind of focusing on medicine and your future career. You're really just essentially putting all your eggs in one basket. And if things don't go your way, and there's a good chance that some elements of that are going to go differently than you hope, then often leads you to be dissatisfied with your ultimate career. On the flip side, if you have more elements of control in your life that are outside of medicine, whether that be fitness or certain hobbies and skills that you want to develop, then you always feel like the foundational aspects of your life that keep you happy are still there, because now there's other things that keep you happy that you have control of. And then you can still devote and dedicate some attention to the academic aspect of your life, like studying and getting the grades and just developing those CV things that you need for your career. One of the best things that I've done for myself in my medical journey is realize that one of the big pillars that I wanted to develop was my personal fitness. And doesn't mean that I have to be the fittest person in the room or the fastest person in the room, but I just have to get a little bit better over time. And running has been a component of that. I've done now 3 half marathons, a 10-mile race, and now 3 marathons, all well between medical school and now being in fellowship. And finding time for those has allowed me to feel like I have this extra dial that I have my hands on, that I can control the intensity and the outcome that I want. And so even if medicine and my medical journey may not be going the way I want, there's other elements in my life where I feel like I have control of. And so it's important to ask yourself, what are those personal goals? What are those personal pillars that you want to work on? Those skills, the hobbies, the personal projects that you want to develop in addition to having a great career in medicine. Ultimately, they just kind of blend and create this more beautiful and complete version of the life that you ultimately would want. Lesson number 2 is that good things come on the opposite end of hard inconsistency. Training for a marathon is no joke. Usually people will train anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks. I trained for about 3 months. And again, doing that with a busy cardiology fellowship schedule, as well as my personal obligations that I have to my family. And so often, and I'll talk about this in the rest of this episode, I had to find very scheduled, protected time and appointments with myself to do training. I literally have a treadmill here in the office right next to my desk that at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning for 3 months, most of my runs were spent there 60 or 90 minutes at a time doing those. And on the weekends when I wouldn't have to go to work, I could then go run outside. But that required a lot of hard work, required a lot of pre-planning, and required a lot of just showing up and waking up even when I didn't feel like it. And so I have grown my muscle of just discipline and consistency, and that's something I'll continue to have to develop. It's going to help me in different aspects of my life. And so again, having this personal aspect of my life that I'm trying to improve will then tandemly also help me on my medical journey as well. And finally, number 3 is the most important before we talk about how to create your own framework to having the ability to fit in personal goals. 3 is that success often will not look like what you expected. Now, this past marathon, I was able to get a personal record of 3:47 or 3:49, one of those two. I'll post it up here in case you guys are interested. But it's a personal record by only like a minute from what I ran about a year and a half ago. My initial emotions after finishing the race were a little bit of a mix between disappointment to like that was hard to at least we got a PR. But now after having a few days to just kind of digest all my emotions, I realized that I had some very ambitious goals going into this race, and the race and the course were just much more humbling. That allowed me to understand that I wasn't fit enough to get those ambitious goals, but I was fit enough to be a little bit faster than I was before and thus get personal record on an arguably harder course than my PR marathon. And that nicely fits into your medical journey because there's going to be a version of success that you're going to look at, whether it be your scores on exams, your acceptance to med school, matching into a specific residency, getting into fellowship, the job you want, and you may get all of those things. But if I'm speaking from my own experience, that journey is going to look a lot more windy than you are hoping for, and your versions of success is going to look a lot different. But ideally, you're learning something during each version of success, whether you get exactly what you want or not. And ultimately, the lesson is there's more work left to be done. In this marathon, I was able to get a personal record, but I know I need another level of fitness, and I have to do a lot more between now and the next race that I sign up for to be able to reach those ambitious goals that I'm still too far away to reach. On my medical journey, if there was an exam that I didn't do well on, a rotation that I needed to do better on, a procedure that I'm quite not good at as a cardiology fellow, there's work left to be done. So regardless of what success you're going to achieve, it likely will look different than what you're expecting. Expect that and take the time needed to digest the lessons from it, so then you can actually make the strides to ideally have a more clear version of the success you're hoping for. Now, those are the lessons, but now I want to talk about the more important part, which is how do you make time for those personal goals and obligations, whether it be running, whether it be another skill, or just fill in the blank for yourself, because medicine is busy. And if you don't learn the muscle and the habit of creating time for yourself, you're never really going to get to it. The further you go into the journey, you're just going to have less free time anyways. And so thankfully, it's something that I was able to practice early on in med school. And now, despite being busy with family life and cardiology fellowship and running this channel, whatever it may be, I still know the same tactics that worked back then that I can fit to do things like running a marathon or now the next goal after this training's over. The first step is being committed to having protected time just for your personal growth outside of medicine. It goes back to a lot of the lessons that we just talked about, but I really look at a lot of personal growth in medicine to be necessary, and two, they have to be scheduled as like pre-appointments with yourself. The same way that you wouldn't miss a doctor's appointment for your own personal health, you can't miss personal appointments for your own progression. And so often the easy way to do this is try to go for a minimum of 2 to 3 times a week that you have a protected hour of 60 to 90 minutes. It could be in chunks. When I was in med school, this was a protected daily slot, usually in the mornings before lectures, but sometimes in the evenings, where it's just a time dedicated to you. There's no studying that's happening. There's no school related things. Ideally, there's no family things. For me as a cardiology fellow and with my family obligations, that time slot right now is like 4:30 to 6, because I have to be in a hospital often by 7 or 7:30. And so sometimes that would just mean waking up pretty early in the morning to get those fitness goals out of the way. Now, with the marathon being done, maybe the hours between 5:30 and 6:30 are picked up with the next goal or the next skill that I have to do. But they're put in my calendar, and I'm very specific during those times of what I intend to do. So I know when my next appointment is with myself and what I need to try to accomplish during that time. And so again, it could be a personal goal, you fill in the blanks, but having a weekly calendar that is clear for all obligations, figuring out where you have no flexibility, meaning work time, family time, and then finding the time slots that do have flexibility and putting yourself in there first for a few times a week, and then you can really start to fit in those personal goals that you're seeking for. Step number 2 is really having a committed plan of what things look like in the span of weeks to months. Marathon is very easy because you know what the goal is. You know, you want to run a specific time or specific distance, and thankfully people have already created plans of that. Now, if you're going for personal hobbies of skill building or whatever it may be, maybe there's not a very definite version of a plan over the span of 10 or 16 weeks. And so you may have to create that version of what do you want to be able to accomplish in the span of 3 to 4 months. If you're creating a skill of cooking, what kind of things do you want to be able to do in that time span? What type of things do you want to learn? If you're just trying to devote time to do things like personal reading or personal learning outside of medicine, then how many books do you want to read? What's the average amount of time that you want to be spending on that skill? Again, fill in your blanks, but also have a clear understanding of what that goal needs to look like. It's much easier to do step 1 after you have this part nailed down, where you know what your future goal is. I know what my future marathon goal time is. And so then I can put in the specific workouts and things that I need to do on my individual appointment days. And so keep the long distance goal definitely a part of your plan. So that way it makes the easy day-to-day, week-to-week scheduling a lot easier. And then step 3 is probably the most important and definitely less tactical, but honestly it helps the most. It's this concept of having a growth-based model in all aspects of your life. One of the biggest challenges of the medical journey is that we are so good at strengthening the pillar of our career and our academia, and pretty poor of focusing our time and attention to all the other pillars of our life. And so if you think about a platform, which is the version of the life that you want to have right now, you may have the pillar of medicine supporting it really well, but the other aspects of your life may just not have gotten enough attention. And so your pillar and your platform is just not as stable as you like it. And so if you understand what pillars in your life you choose to focus your attention to. For me, it's family and relationships. It is fitness. It is medicine. There's a few others that are added into there. And then you can control how much attention and how much you're turning the dials to each of those. It's going to help create the overall quality of your life that ultimately is going to allow you to enjoy your medical journey, enjoy your career, but not be fully dependent on it to bring you the satisfaction you need from your journey. I think you need a little bit of a nice balance between all of those, and then allows you to show up for your job, your career, and your patients, most importantly, with the right mindset. And so for me, if my fitness is not where I want it to be, then, or my relationships are not as strong as I want them to be, it doesn't matter how great of a job I'm doing as a cardiology fellow, I'm going to feel incomplete and unsatisfied. But if all of them are at a good balance level, and I know I still have work to do in each of them, at least I feel like I'm at a good foundational step to make some progress and improvement using the strategies that we talked about in this episode. So I always remember you have to kind of devote the attention to the most important things of your life, understanding what those are first, and then asking yourself, how can you use these daily appointments, these weekly appointments, and these month-long goals to be sure that you're giving all of them equal attention, so everything is kind of growing together. And that's the ultimate point of this, is for you to have the medical journey that you want. You also want to have the outside life and personal life. So think hard about what that looks like for you on your medical journey. If you want more tips like this to make sure you're succeeding on your medical journey for absolutely free, check out the Med School Handbook down below, which includes 100+ tips just like this that I wish somebody had given to me on my first day of med school. It also gives you access to the email newsletters that I send out with tips just like this. And if you enjoyed this episode, then check out this episode right here on how to be happy on your medical journey. I'm going to go ahead and try to ice my legs. But as always, thanks so much for being a part of my journey. Hopefully I was a little help to you guys on yours. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.